conqueror yourself in life. Many dream of conquering lands, defeating enemies, and achieving glory that echoes through time. But the greatest battle is not fought on fields of war, nor in the courts of kings, nor in the competitions of men. The greatest battle is fought within against the restless impulses, the storms of emotion, and the illusions that seek to enslave the mind. To conquer yourself is to achieve the highest victory. For what use is it to rule over nations if you cannot rule your own tongue? What glory is there in defeating armies if you are still a prisoner to anger, greed, or fear? The man who has mastered himself stands unshaken in both triumph and defeat, unmoved by the praise of the crowd or the mockery of the critic. Life will place before you countless adversaries, betrayal, loss, injustice, temptation. But the fiercest enemy will always be the one within. The voice that says you are owed more than you have, the passions that drive you to act without reason, the pride that blinds you to truth. This enemy cannot be bribed or intimidated. It must be disciplined, trained, and transformed. True strength is not in striking harder than your opponent, but in restraining yourself when anger urges you to strike. True courage is not in rushing toward danger recklessly, but in facing hardship without surrendering your principles. True wisdom is not in knowing the faults of others, but in recognizing and correcting your own. Every day you are presented with the opportunity to win this battle. When insulted, you may choose patience over retaliation. When tempted by comfort, you may choose discipline over indulgence. When fear whispers that you cannot endure, you may choose to stand firm and endure still. Each choice is a victory, each act of self-control a step toward mastery. Do not be deceived into thinking that mastery over yourself is a single victory won once and for all. No, it is a lifelong campaign. The battlefield is your mind, your heart, your habits. The weapons are reason, discipline, and the remembrance that fortune changes with the wind. If you wish to be truly free, then let no desire chain you, no fear command you, no passion rule you. For the one who governs himself is the only one who cannot be conquered. Self-mastery is the highest victory. Ruling over yourself is more valuable than ruling over nations or defeating others. To understand why self-mastery is the highest victory, one must first see the nature of all other victories. The triumphs the world applauds, military conquests, political influence, wealth amassed, and fame achieved, are all fragile and temporary. They can be lost in a moment, stripped away by fortune's turning, taken by the will of others, or destroyed by the passing of time. History is filled with names once celebrated and feared, now forgotten or reduced to whispers in old books. These external victories, though they may dazzle for a season, are built on sand, yet there is a victory that cannot be stolen by thieves, corrupted by envy, or eroded by years, the victory over oneself. This triumph endures because it is not dependent on the world's approval or the world's conditions. To conquer yourself means to govern your thoughts, your emotions, and your desires with the steady hand of reason. It is to refuse to be the slave of impulse, to refuse to be a puppet pulled by the strings of fear, lust, greed, or pride. The man who has achieved this can walk among kings and remain humble, suffer loss and remain content, face death and remain unshaken. This is no small achievement. It is the work of a lifetime, for the enemy is always near, whispering in your mind, persuading you to take the easy road, urging you to compromise what you know to be right. Those who lack self-mastery may conquer cities, yet find themselves defeated in their own hearts. They may possess riches, yet live in poverty of spirit, for their peace is always hostage to their circumstances. They are praised today but crumble tomorrow when the praise turns to criticism. But the one who rules himself does not depend on the applause of the crowd. His joy does not rest on wealth, nor his identity on status. His peace comes from within, built on the unshakable foundation of virtue. Self-mastery is the highest victory because it is the only one that brings true freedom. To be free is not merely to do as you wish, but to have the wisdom to wish for what is right. Freedom is not the absence of restraint, but the ability to restrain yourself from the wrong, even when no one is watching. The one who has mastered himself cannot be conquered by insult, cannot be destroyed by loss, cannot be driven to ruin by temptation. Even in chains he is free, for no man can enslave a mind that governs itself. Therefore, aim not first to conquer the world, but to conquer yourself. Rule your own spirit before you seek to rule others. Let your greatest ambition be mastery over the passions that rage within, for this victory will outlast all others. When the final day comes and all earthly crowns fall to dust, the crown of self-mastery will remain untarnished, eternal, and yours alone. The inner enemy is the most dangerous. Anger, greed, fear, and pride are greater threats than any external opponent. The fiercest enemy a person will ever face is not an army at the gates, nor the schemes of rivals, nor the unpredictable turns of fate. The fiercest enemy lives within, hidden in the recesses of the heart, cloaked in the familiar voice of our own thoughts. This enemy takes many forms: anger that clouds judgment, greed that blinds the soul, fear that paralyzes action, pride that rejects correction. Unlike external foes, this one cannot be escaped, for it walks with you wherever you go. You cannot hide from it, nor can you bribe it into peace. It must be confronted, resisted, and overcome from within. Anger may rise in the heart like a storm, convincing you that vengeance is strength, that retaliation is justice. Yet in truth it is anger that makes you weak, driving you to say and do what reason would forbid. Greed whispers that happiness lies in possessing more wealth, more recognition, more power. But it is a bottomless hunger that no gain can satisfy. Fear convinces you that safety lies in retreat, that avoiding pain is the highest good, yet in yielding to fear you forfeit the life you were meant to live. Pride assures you that you are always right, that no one has the right to correct you, yet it blinds you to your faults and keeps you from growth. These enemies are dangerous not only because they dwell within, but because they disguise themselves as friends. Anger can pretend to be courage, greed can appear as ambition, fear can seem like wisdom, and pride can masquerade as self-respect. If you are not vigilant, they will lead you into chains while convincing you that you are free. This is why the battle against the inner enemy is the most critical of all. If you lose here, every other victory will be hollow, for your very soul will be captive. Overcoming this enemy requires constant watchfulness. Just as a city must guard its gates against hidden spies, so you must guard your mind against thoughts and impulses that slip past unnoticed. When anger begins to stir, meet it with patience. When greed arises, counter it with contentment. When fear whispers, answer it with courage. When pride swells, humble yourself before truth. Each time you choose virtue over vice, you weaken the power of this inner foe. Remember, no external force can harm you as deeply as your own ungoverned passions. A man may be struck down by another, yet if his spirit remains pure, he is undefeated. But if he yields to the corruption within, no one need lift a hand against him. He has destroyed himself. The true conqueror is not the one who defeats others, but the one who defeats the rebellion within his own heart. Win this battle, and no other enemy will have the power to rule you. True strength is self-control. Resisting harmful impulses and acting with reason shows more power than force or aggression. True strength is not found in the ability to overpower another, to strike harder, or to intimidate with force. It is not measured by the loudness of your voice or the swiftness of your retaliation. True strength lies in the quiet, often unseen, power of self-control, the ability to govern your actions when every emotion within you demands that you act otherwise. It is far easier to let anger spill into rage, to let desire turn into indulgence, to let fear dictate retreat. These require no discipline, no thought, no mastery, but to pause, to weigh your response against what is right, and to choose restraint over impulse. That is the mark of genuine power. The man who can endure insult without lashing back possesses more might than the one who can win 100 fights. The woman who can hold her tongue when provoked has shown greater force than those who speak with cutting words. Strength is not always in doing, but often in withholding, in saying no when every fiber urges yes, in walking away when pride demands you stay and prove yourself. Restraint is not weakness, it is the proof that you are not a slave to impulse. Self-control guards against the tyranny of passion. When anger rules, you become its servant, acting not from reason but from the heat of the moment. When lust rules, your dignity is surrendered to fleeting pleasure. When greed rules, your peace is sacrificed for possessions that will never satisfy. And when fear rules, your courage is suffocated before it can even act. Each of these masters is merciless, and those who obey them are not strong. They are chained. Consider the storms of nature. A raging wind can uproot trees and tear apart cities, yet it cannot choose where it blows or when it stops. It is power without control, destructive and directionless. But a skilled sailor harnesses the wind, bending its strength to his course, guiding his vessel toward the harbor. So it is with human power. All force without self-control destroys, but disciplined strength builds, protects, and guides. Self-control does not mean suppressing all emotion, but mastering it so that it serves rather than rules. Anger can be channeled into justice, desire into ambition, fear into caution, pride into self-respect. But without mastery, these same forces can consume you. To control them is to turn what could destroy you into what can strengthen you. The measure of your strength is not how much you can take from others, but how much you can take from yourself. How many impulses you can refuse, how many temptations you can endure, how many moments of pride you can humble. The one who rules his own spirit is stronger than the one who can command armies. For armies fade, kingdoms fall, but the strength of self-control endures as long as you breathe. Self-conquest is a daily battle. Discipline, patience, and virtue must be practiced consistently, not achieved once. Self-conquest is not a victory you win once and carry with you forever. It is a battle that must be fought daily, often in small, unseen moments that seem insignificant to others but determine the strength of your soul. Discipline, patience, and virtue are not medals you earn and hang on the wall. They are practices that must be renewed, sharpened, and tested continually. Just as a soldier cannot train once and expect to be ready for every battle, so you cannot practice self-mastery once and expect to remain unshaken for the rest of your life. Every day brings new trials, and every day the enemy within seeks to regain its ground. There will be mornings when your body craves comfort and whispers that you can delay your duties. There will be moments when insult strikes you and demands retaliation. There will be hours when temptation stands before you, offering ease, pleasure, or gain at the cost of your integrity. In each of these moments the battle is fought, not with swords or shields, but with choices. One choice may seem small, but repeated choices shape the entire course of your life. Consistency is the true test of mastery. Anyone can be disciplined for a day when the mind is clear and the heart is motivated. Anyone can endure hardship for a short while when there is applause or recognition. But to be steadfast in discipline when no one sees, to be patient when no one thanks you, to choose virtue when it brings you no reward, this is the lifelong battle. It is not glorious in the eyes of the world, but it is glorious in the soul. Life changes, seasons shift, and with them come new challenges. The habits that guarded you yesterday may not be enough for tomorrow. You must remain watchful, ready to adapt, ready to resist. Just as a farmer tends the field daily to prevent weeds from taking root, so you must tend your character daily, pulling out the weeds of selfishness, impatience, and pride before they choke the life of virtue. There will be victories, and there will be failures. You will not win every moment, but the battle is not lost in a single defeat. It is lost only when you stop fighting, when you surrender to the thought that self-mastery is impossible. The truth is that every fall is an opportunity to rise stronger, every temptation resisted is a gain, and every moment of discipline builds a fortress around your soul. The campaign to conquer yourself is lifelong because the self is not static. It shifts, it adapts, it seeks comfort, it resists discipline. This is why you must always be on guard. Do not grow weary in this fight, for it is the most worthy fight you will ever wage. Win it today, and then win it again tomorrow, and in doing so, you will build a life of unshakable strength. Freedom comes from inner rule. Only the person who governs their own desires, fears, and passions is truly unconquerable. Freedom is a word often misunderstood. Many believe it means the ability to do whatever one desires, to live without limits, to answer to no authority. But this kind of freedom is an illusion, for a person who is ruled by his own desires, fears, and passions is not free at all. He is a servant to them. True freedom is found only in self-rule, in the ability to govern your own mind and will, so that no force within or without can compel you to act against what is right. The person who cannot resist temptation is not free. He is chained by his appetites. The one who cannot stand firm in the face of fear is not free. He is bound by his own anxieties. The one who must always seek the approval of others is not free. He is a prisoner to the shifting winds of opinion. But the person who governs himself, who chooses what is good over what is easy, who holds to principle even when it costs him, such a person cannot be conquered. His freedom does not depend on circumstance, wealth, or position. It is a fortress within him that no enemy can breach. When you rule yourself, you cannot be forced into shame by insult, for you do not depend on the judgment of others. You cannot be ruined by loss, for your peace is not tied to possessions. You cannot be enslaved by power, for you understand that it is nothing without virtue. This inner liberty is unshakable, because it does not rest on what the world can give or take away. It rests on the discipline of your own soul. Even those who are outwardly bound by poverty, by hardship, even by chains, can still be free if they master themselves. History is filled with examples of men and women who, though imprisoned or oppressed, refused to surrender their dignity or abandon their principles. Their bodies were confined, but their minds remained sovereign. This is the essence of freedom, to live according to what you know is right, regardless of what is done to you. Self-rule is not achieved by chance. It is the fruit of continual vigilance and deliberate choice. Each time you resist an impulse to act wrongly, you strengthen your independence. Each time you refuse to be mastered by fear, you fortify your liberty. And with each act of discipline, you prove to yourself that you are not a slave to your emotions or your environment. The world may change around you, nations may fall, fortunes may vanish, reputations may crumble, but if you have learned to govern yourself, none of these can take your freedom. This is why the one who rules his own spirit is greater than the one who takes a city. For cities can be lost, but the kingdom within, once established and guarded, remains yours forever.